Welcome to the Lewisburg Cemetery on the Fort Drum Army installation in northern New York State. Lewisburg was one of 5 villages that were eliminated when, during World War II, the area known as Pine Camp was selected as a major expansion, and an additional 75,000 acres were purchased by eminent domain. That purchase displaced about 525 local families, and 5 entire villages were eliminated, Lewisburg being one of them. This cemetery is associated with the Lewisburg village. That village was known for its iron ore and will have an upcoming video. This cemetery also goes by the name of St. Patrick's Cemetery, associated with the Catholic Church St. Patrick's that was in the adjacent village of Lewisburg. Sometimes in literature, it can also be known as the Sterling Bush Cemetery or the Doyle Mulvaney Cemetery. Stay tuned for the end to find out how you can download all records associated with this cemetery for your own interest or genealogical studies. I hope you enjoy this virtual visit. So I just wanted to help everyone figure out where to find all our information on the cemeteries that exist on Fort Drum. There's 13 cemeteries on Fort Drum, and you can access all of them virtually through our fortdrum.isportsman.net website. It's this website also that if you want to visit them in real life, you can come onto iSportsman and get your free recreational pass in order to be able to go to the training area. So you'd create your account and read these directions here on our front page and be able to print out a rec pass, call in, and see if that area is open. To get to the cemetery information, click Outreach and Special Events. Go down to Cemetery Visits. Here again is where you get your recreational pass and all our rules and regs for that. Again, they are free to anyone. You can also get our driving directions to our Fort Drum cemeteries, a map to our Fort Drum cemeteries, and what's helpful for a lot of genealogists or people looking for where their families lived on Fort Drum. You can download here the 1941 tax map. This is the tax parcel map, includes who owns the property and the acreage of those. Sorry, guys. Like I said, there are 13 cemeteries, but if you scroll down on here, you can download a road map of our cemeteries. Or if you know the cemetery you're going to, you can also put in your lat longitudes into your GPS directions. Today we're looking at the Lewisburg Cemetery. So if we go down here to the Lewisburg Cemetery, Lewisburg Cemetery is in a unique range setting. So it's one of our most difficult cemeteries to get to, which is what started us down the path of putting it all in a virtual access database. So while we give you directions, please know that some of our cemeteries are often closed due to training needs. While you're down here, you'll notice that the Lewisburg Cemetery is highlighted in blue, and you can go ahead and click on that. This will bring you to our searchable PDF file of Lewisburg. And if you have a free Adobe Reader software on your machine, you will be able to not only download this document, but also search this document. First name, a last name, if you have a partial inscription. So when the Lewisburg form fills in, you see you'll be able to go to each stone. It'll have the first, last names that are on the stone, any dates that exist on the stone, and any inscription that happens on the stone. It'll also give you the individual plot marker. In case there's a problem with the stone, we'll be able to track it here. So this information, a lot of it is for our planning purposes. It also will tell you associated markers with it. Let's see if we go down a little. It'll tell you it's a family stone, so there are associated markers with that stone and associated burials as well. And here it'll give you additional pictures of the stone. A lot of these old stones, as I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with, a lot of the older stones are very hard to photograph. We try to photograph them on slightly overcast days because the shadow can be very troublesome. You can see in this second shot how you can't see much detail on the stone. So you can continue to scroll through. You might be able to see here there's 1,076 pages, so I don't recommend just printing the entirety of the document out. If you wanted to print ones associated with your family, I would do a select page group to print and not print the entirety of the record. This is also where we're hoping for information from our public that interacts with us on our tours and during Memorial Day, during Labor Day. When the cemeteries are open is Memorial Day, Labor Day. We have a quiet hours, and you can look for those quiet hours to be published in our local newspaper and on Channel 7. It'll probably exist out there on our Fort Drum website site as well. You're also welcome at any time to find us on Facebook. We're Fort Drum Cultural Resources. Message us questions there, post photos, and catch up on all the latest news of what we're doing here on Fort Drum. But again, in this general comments, additional information references, we're hoping in this gray area to start adding more information for these folks. A lot of historic newspapers, have gone recently online, and we can find more obituaries than ever. And we're hoping to be able to plug some of those in that are a resource for our genealogists looking for information. In a few instances, we have photos of the family pop up. And we're hoping to add photos of the folks who are interned in our cemeteries on Fort Drum. Also, any references that family members would like us to include here for other family members maybe looking for information, or other genealogists that are looking for information on these stones. As a lot of these stones are older, it is valuable to keep as much information in records like this before they deteriorate. Lewisburg or Sterling Bush or St. Patrick's Cemetery or Doyle Mulvaney, whatever you call this cemetery, we call it the Lewisburg Cemetery for convenience sake, it exists in the foothills of our Adirondack Mountain region, which, as many know, have experienced acid rain in recent years, recent decades really, which is very harmful for the marble stones you see in our records. Time and our winters also are not always kind to our stones, and you can see the splits that occur in a lot of our stones. Thank you for visiting the Lewisburg Cemetery today with me. I hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more visits to historical places across Fort Drum, New York, home of the 10th Mountain Division. This stone and bench area at the Lewisburg Cemetery was placed by Eagle Scout James Atkinson in memory of his grandfather, who grew up as a boy in Lewisburg.